By that point, my mind felt completely overwhelmed. The jolt from hitting my head on the floor and the sheer surprise of seeing her standing there without a stitch on were competing to see which would finally make me lose my balance altogether. Between the lingering dizziness and the unexpected sight before me, I felt perilously close to collapsing for good. She quickly caught me and helped me back to my feet, lowering herself again to keep me steady. Because she was much taller than I was, she had to crouch down to support me, and she didn't seem the least bit bothered by it. My attention flickered briefly to things I had only imagined before, but I forced my focus back where it belonged. She appeared not to notice anything unusual, keeping her eyes on mine and calmly waving her hand in front of my face once more to check that I was all right. What? I'm here, I stammered as she took my hands again. She was impressively built, her stature and proportions fitting together perfectly. Everything about her presence was striking, and it was hard not to be taken aback by how confident and put together she appeared. Wow, I said, sounding genuinely impressed. You must have broken the mold, didn't you? She finally seemed to realize the situation she was in, crouched down in front of me. Still, she made no move to change her position, nor did her expression show the slightest embarrassment. Instead, she gave a small, amused grin and replied casually, "Yeah, I suppose so. You're not the first person to mention it. Most people who've seen me like this tend to say the same thing." I nearly lost my balance again as a coughing fit overtook me. "Anyone who has seen you without clothes?" I asked, still trying to catch my breath. "How many people have actually seen you like that before?" "Well," she said thoughtfully, "all the girls on the cheerleading team, most of the girls in my gym class, and of course you," she added, finishing with a small smile. "And me. You don't mind that a guy is staring at you, trying to make sense of what he's seeing, still wondering if he's a little dazed from that knock to the head. You do realize that you're an absolutely stunning woman, don't you?" She smiled broadly and replied, "Yes, I've heard that said before. And you don't mind that I'm staring right at you?" I asked, stunned that the words had slipped out. She clearly didn't seem to mind at all. After all, she hadn't scolded me or shown any annoyance for doing it. To be honest, I don't mind when people look my way. I even find the attention a little exciting. For the second time that day, I heard the same two words, excited and flustered. What struck me even more was that she had said people, not guys. My thoughts spun wildly, my head growing light as if I were on the verge of blacking out, unable to fully process or believe what she had just said. She noticed my discomfort and said brightly, "I bet I know just the thing to help you forget about that aching head." And what might that be?" I asked, a little cautiously. "I've seen other girls try it, but I've never done it myself," she said, meeting my gaze with bright, curious eyes. "I suppose I'm a little eager to see how it turns out." I confess that I never once anticipated what she was about to do next. The thought had never crossed my mind before, and my head was already spinning as it was. Then she leaned forward, calmly loosening my belt, undoing the button, and easing the zipper down, as though it were the most natural thing in the world. She reached for my trousers and gently helped me to my feet, guiding my clothing downward until they pooled around my ankles. I stood there, stunned and unsteady, scarcely able to process what was happening as she took control of the moment. "What are you doing?" I asked anxiously. Aside from my mother and my sister, no woman had ever seen me in such a vulnerable or personal situation before. "Just calm down, Nick, and everything will be all right," she said reassuringly. She took hold of me and gently guided me closer to the edge of the bench before lowering herself into a squat once more. My mind was spinning in disbelief as she leaned closer, and I froze in shock at what she seemed about to do. The suddenness of her actions left me stunned, my thoughts scrambling to catch up as I tried to understand how the moment had escalated so quickly. There are no words to fully capture the sensation as her warm, gentle lips closed around me, drawing me closer with an unhurried, intimate tenderness. The moment felt suspended in time, every thought dissolving as I became aware only of her closeness and the quiet intensity of the connection we shared. You need to relax a little more, I think," she murmured, her voice slightly muffled by how close she was. I remained silent as she continued, her attention focused entirely on me, her movements slow and deliberate. Her lips lingered, and I felt the gentle brush of her tongue as she teased and coaxed, clearly intent on keeping me right where I was. I knew what the act was in theory. I had read enough magazines over the years to recognize the situation when it presented itself. Still, none of those glossy pages came close to capturing the intensity of the sensation I was experiencing. The descriptions I had absorbed were pale imitations at best. I let out a long, unguarded sigh as she continued, her movements steady and unhurried, drawing me deeper into a moment that felt suspended outside of time. As my body began to tense, I started to understand why people would go to great lengths for such an experience. The sensation was difficult to put into words, far beyond anything I had imagined, and it left me feeling quietly overwhelmed. I relaxed, breathing out slowly, content to simply enjoy the moment. "It feels good, doesn't it?" she asked, though the question hardly needed an answer. Was all I managed to say. My ability to speak seemed to shut down entirely in the face of the overwhelming sensations radiating through my body. "Well, you'll be glad to know that it's only going to become even more enjoyable in just a little while." I hadn't thought such a thing was even possible. I was wrapped in a haze of pure contentment, suspended somewhere between disbelief and delight. Yet she was right, my body responded unmistakably as she continued her gentle, unhurried attention, her movements confident and deliberate. The sensation grew steadily stronger, leaving me breathless and utterly lost in the moment. My mind finally managed to coax my voice into action, and I wheezed out, oh my goodness, that feels incredibly good." She said nothing as she continued tending to me. I finally managed to open my eyes again and almost lost consciousness once more when I realized what she was doing with the hand that wasn't supporting me. It had slipped between her legs, where she was quietly touching herself, her movements slow and deliberate as she sought her own pleasure. My eyes nearly popped out of my head when I saw what she was doing. I had no mental picture at all of how it would look, and nothing I had ever read had prepared me for the sight before me. Her hand was a blur from moving so quickly, rising and falling between her legs in a way that left no doubt about how intensely she was caught up in the moment. She began to sigh softly, clearly responding to the pleasure she was giving herself. Each quiet sound sent a subtle tremor through me, and I felt a warm, tingling sensation rise in time with her breaths, as though my body was reacting instinctively to hers. I closed my eyes and finally let go of every other thought, focusing entirely on the sensations coursing through me. The feeling was overwhelming, unlike anything I had ever experienced before. My body felt impossibly tense, and a deep, heated pressure began to build low within me. I recognized the sensation from things I had read and understood that I was approaching a powerful and inevitable release. I realized I needed to warn her about what was about to happen. Everything I had ever read on the subject had been quite clear on that point. It was important to give fair notice before reaching such a moment. I didn't want to surprise her or be careless, so I gathered myself and made sure she understood what was coming next. I felt a powerful tension building deep within me, a sudden rush of heat spreading as my body reacted on its own. I knew I was right on the edge. I think I'm about to lose control," I managed to whisper, struggling to keep my voice down so no one else would overhear. Instead of backing away as I had expected, she surprised me by pulling me closer and increasing her efforts, moving with intense enthusiasm and a steady rhythm that left no doubt about her determination. "I'm at the point of no return," was all I managed to gasp before the overwhelming sensation took over completely. A powerful wave rushed through me, leaving me lightheaded and barely able to stay conscious. The intensity of it all was so strong that I nearly blacked out again, this time from the sheer force of the feeling as it surged through me. I honestly couldn't say how long it lasted or how much energy was released. My thoughts were far too scattered and overheated to keep track of anything beyond that first, breathless moment. As she finished swallowing and pulled back, her body suddenly tensed. A tremor ran through her as her own moment of release overtook her. She lifted her head away, arching her neck backward as far as she could, caught in the intensity of the sensation. She was breathless and glistening with exertion as she reached her peak, her body trembling from the intensity of the moment. Oh my, she gasped, barely managing the words between each shuddering wave that passed through her body. Her movements grew frantic as her hand moved with urgent purpose, fingers entwined in a fevered rhythm. I could tell she was completely lost in the sensation, her palm pressing firmly as she drove herself onward, overwhelmed by the intensity of the moment. She held on to me tightly to steady herself, and I was fortunate not to lose my balance under the added pressure of her arm wrapped around my waist. She was breathing hard as she reached the height of her pleasure, her body trembling as the sensation overtook her. A rush of warmth followed, spilling freely and dripping to the floor, where it spread into a slowly growing pool. She pitched forward onto the bench, nearly knocking me off as her body, completely spent, slumped heavily across my legs. Her breathing was still rapid, but I could hear it gradually slowing as she began to recover from the overwhelming rush that had just passed through her. She finally managed to lift her head again and said, "Oh my goodness. That was absolutely incredible."